Welcome in on this terrific Tuesday. It is the 5th of December, possibly a big day for the Liberty Bowl expansion project. Council committee meeting in about a half hour. Then it could go to the council for a vote later today. Let's hope so. There is a councilman, J.B. Smiley, who is trying to leverage, I guess, his power to get something from the university in order to relinquish the stadium to the university. He basically would like to have representatives from the city or the council on the University of Memphis Auxiliary Services Foundation. So a little bit of leverage there to try to keep a hand on what's going on with the school and with the AutoZone with the Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. The one wrinkle here is that's not part of the deal, according to Richard Smith, who said $50 million, their contribution to the school, but also to the city, to help solve the problem with the Grizzlies. He says there's no strings attached. The city has to give the stadium to the school, and they'll be in charge for this $50 million to come from the family's funds to the school. And so now they're meeting with that in mind, and you got to see exactly how it all plays out. But make no mistake, this is critical. As I'm sitting here pretty well thinking until the Smiley discussion, this deal's going to happen as soon as the AutoZone Liberty Bowl is done, and the Tigers and Iowa State have this great game on December the 29th that there will be construction that will start, and the $220 million project will begin in earnest. Now it could go away if the council doesn't hand the stadium over. Smiley is one vote. I think you just have to have a majority. If anybody out there is aware, call us. And Zach Boyd, producer extraordinaire, will take the information and relay it to us at 901-360-8255. I'm almost certain all it takes is a majority vote. You would think there would be enough level-headed people to say, we need this deal to go forth. The Smith family did a lot of thinking, and they're going deep in their pockets to make sure that this works, not only for the school, but for the Grizzlies and for the sake of downtown. So let's see what happens. Again, a committee meeting in 25 minutes and then a possible vote on all of this a little bit later today. New poll is out, and just exactly how accurate is the net? We're going to ask Mike DeCourcy, our Hall of Famer from the Sporting News, that question in about 5 minutes or so. And then what? A thriller last night in overtime on Monday Night Football. Jeff Moore will break down this past weekend 13, I believe, in the National Football League. Are there going to be any quarterbacks left? I mean, just off the top of my head, Zach Boyd, I think, well, I know, obviously, the first big injury was Aaron Rodgers, third snap of the game or whatever that was, first game of the week. Then the Bears lost their quarterback for a while. Cincinnati lost Burrow for the year. Jacksonville lost their quarterback last night in Trevor Lawrence, and that looked nasty. I mean, he's going to be out a few weeks. That was, I hope it's just a sprain because it wasn't twisted the way those breaks can be, like it was for Travis Jordan, but it looked painful for sure, and he did not get back in the game. The New York Giants have lost their quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, Kenny Pickett, is undergoing surgery. I mean, is this year, are there more quarterback injuries than we've ever seen before, or is that, am I making that up?
No, I think. Have
I missed anybody, by the way?
I can't recall one season where a lot of the starting quarterbacks started to get hurt, but
that's 6 right there of 32. So, but you better have a backup quarterback, I guess. That is for sure.
I agree.
So we shall be talking about all of that. By the way, Heisman finalists, I can't divulge my vote. I know some people are doing that. But, when I agreed to be a voter, I agreed to the confidentiality. I'll just say this. You pick 3 people, all 3 of my finalists will be in New York City. There are 4, and I think they got that right. That would be Jaden Daniels. That would be Marvin Harrison. That would be Michael Penix. That would be Bo Nix. Who do you think will win this? Because, they do Vegas odds on this.
I think one of the quarterbacks out in the Pac-12, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah.
I can understand that. And so you've got a dilemma here, just so people know. Here's the dilemma on this. It's not deserving and best. But some people view this as the best player on the best team. So that would put certainly Michael Penix in a pretty good position. His team undefeated, and he's a finalist. Marvin Harrison's team's not in it. Neither is Oregon's Bo Nix, and of course Daniels is not either from LSU. They weren't even in the conversation. But if you look at just sheer numbers, all 3 quarterbacks had unbelievable numbers this year passing the football. The only one that had passing and running numbers would be Daniels. So do you look at the best numbers or do you look at the best player on the best team? That's where I think the whole dilemma comes in.
Yeah, and then also I understand the push for Jaden Daniels to kind of getting it, but the thing is that LSU, like you said, record-wise, they're not. They weren't up there at the top all year. So,
but I hate to say this, Paul Hornung's team won 1 or 2 games one year, and he won the Heisman because his numbers were spectacular, and he was a flamboyant guy. This is many, many, many years ago. I don't know that we've ever had a case like that since. But again, your dilemma, if you're a voter with the Heisman, is do you go best player, best team, or do you go look at what this guy's numbers are on the year, and that's how you have to determine which way you are going to vote. Speaking of votes, we got a new poll. We got the thing called the net. I want to go over that with Mike DeCourcy, who is standing by. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and a reminder that Christmas sale is now hot and heavy with excellent deals on pool tables, shuffleboards, saunas. Let me tell you, that place looks spectacular. Go in I-40 and Whidden Road, see what I'm talking about, knowing you're going to get great prices. You might want to surprise the kids. How about a new arcade game? They'll love you for that, or a game table, or a play gym. It's all happening at Family Leisure. Our title sponsor, you know by now, that is Genesis of Olive Branch. That's right in the Homer Skelton Hyundai off Craft Road and Highway 78. That's really Lamar. First exit in Mississippi, you turn left, you go to Chris True's place. But I want you to ask for Vinny Gerard. He's the crazy Canadian who is offering unbelievable deals on Genesis cars. And the Genesis SUVs are right now what's happening. You want luxury, you want all the new toys, technology like you wouldn't believe, and that ride that is just so incredible. Ask about the SUVs, the GV70, the smaller one, or the GV80. They're all loaded. They're all priced right now, specially, and there's financing available. Go see Vinny at Craft Road and Highway 78, Genesis of Olive Branch. Always a pleasure to talk to our Hall of Famer. That would be Mike DeCourcy. I got to ask you, because you cover all college sports. You cover soccer on a worldwide basis. But the big news this week was the College Football Playoff Committee's exclusion for the first time ever, a Power 5 conference undefeated champion. Your take on that? People know where I'm at with this. I've been yelling loud and clear. What's your thought process? Good morning.
I really think, Dave, good morning. I really think the best word for it is disgrace.
Thank you. I'm in agreement with you.
I just don't think that you get off easily when you affront a group of young men who worked as hard and achieved as much as that team did, and then really the whole college football playoff has always been a sham. I mean, there hasn't been, and I can't wait till next December, next January, when we actually have, for the first time in the history of the game, a real champion. Not this we think stuff. We think this is the best team. It's less mythical, I suppose, now than it was in 1982 or 1974 or whatever. But it's still not a true championship until you can tell a team, here's what you have to do to qualify to play for it. Because Florida State assumed, and rightly so, from the the previous 9 years of playoffs, that if they won all their games in a conference that was acknowledged as a Power 5 conference, that they would be a part of the playoff. And it turned out even that doesn't get you in if the committee decides that it's not convenient for them. And what it comes down to, Dave, is what works best for television, and that should not be the consideration.
I think there's also an element here of the guys that are really in power, and that's Greg Sankey and maybe Nick Saban and the SEC. Because I honestly believe if Georgia wins this thing, Florida State's in. They had to have a representative of the SEC, and for whatever feeling that they had. I mean, they even manipulated at the last second the way they were going to work the rankings, because if you look at the rankings before the week, and granted, Alabama did win over the number 1 seed, I get that, but how far they jumped up? And once they decided they had to have Alabama in, well, now they have to take Texas because Texas beat Alabama, and so who's the sacrificial lamb? It's Florida State. This all, to me, is the power of the SEC and Greg Sankey.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. There's no question about that. As a matter of fact, I wrote a column on Saturday night. I was covering nominally the Michigan the Iowa championship game, but what we decided that after everything that was happening, especially with the Alabama Georgia thing going the way it was, my editor said, with this happening, the Big Ten game is not going to register. You should write about that in context with the whole thing and what you think about what the playoff field's going to work out. And I wrote that the only correct solution to their playoff conundrum at that point was to have no SEC teams. But I even said in the article that I said, is it legal to have no SEC teams in a college football playoff? I said, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. And as it turned out, it isn't legal to have a college football playoff without an SEC team.
So it appears. I would agree with you there. Since you saw Michigan, how do you think they will stack up with Alabama? They're only 1.5 favorites in a semi where they're the number 1 seed and the other team is the number 4 seed. Do you think Michigan – look, I was impressed with what they have done all year, in particular with Ohio State, that I still think is a pretty good football team. So I'm a little surprised at the line, and now I'm anti-SEC because of all this. So I'm pulling hard for Michigan. What do you think?
Well, I think that what the reason the line is as narrow as it is, and I haven't seen the total on it, but I would suspect the total's not super high, because Michigan is not a great offensive team. They're not Iowa on offense, as you could see from Saturday, but they are not elite on that side of the ball. But defensively, they are pretty amazing. And I think that's the question: is can they generate enough offense on their own to prevail over Alabama, which I suspect they can. But their defense has to play really well, and the more destructive they are, the better. I mean, we're forgetting, one of the reasons why I really had a problem with the way this playoff worked out was Alabama's performance at Auburn, which was miserable. And Auburn practically had to walk off the field for Alabama to score on its final play, and just about did. I mean, that was one of the greatest pieces of defensive incompetence in college football history, to allow a team to convert 4th and 31 on the final play of the game.
Well, and playing a spy on a quarterback who's got to run 31 yards was ridiculous. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
And the defensive coordinator really just blew that. By the way, the total's 45 and a half in that game, and I think that's about right right on because they both have great defenses, and you have to wonder about the offenses. And the other point that was made, and I was just listening to Blake Topmeyer on with Greg and Eli. I mean, if we're looking at body of work and you're trying to pick the best 4 teams, his point was, and I think he's spot on, there were 2 weeks this year that Alabama looked like one of the 4 best teams in the country, against Ohio State last week and against LSU earlier in the season. But they certainly didn't look like that against South Florida. They weren't one of the top 4 teams, or against Arkansas, or as you just mentioned, against Auburn. So
don't forget Texas A&M, which was so despondent at their performance this season. They paid a coach $75 million to go away, and yet they nearly beat Alabama.
Yeah. No, I agree. Crazy. All right, let's get to your main expertise, although there are many, and that is college basketball. The first net rankings came out. We'll get to the poll in a minute because that's crazy. We got another number 1. But how accurate do you think net rankings are this early in the season? Because here we are, teams have played 7, 8 games. So, I mean, if you run the gamut, you're going to play 40, basically 25% of the season in the books. How accurate?
Not at all. I mean, really not even worth the pieces of data that come through your computer screen to formulate those rankings. And I honestly think they're trying to be open, but it should come with a caveat that these rankings don't mean anything at this stage. Because what's different about the net from many, if not all, of the other predictive rankings, KenPom being the most prominent example. The KenPom starts with a preseason ranking, and it's to try to bring some definition to the rankings early in the season. He wants them to have value to his subscribers. In a lot of cases, people use his rankings as a betting measurement, to give them an idea of how a game might go. He wants them to have value, and Ken's analytics are great, and so they start with a preseason ranking, and then he says that they usually, if I remember correctly, by the middle of January or so, it's all what's happened this year. It's not his preseason rankings are now completely factored out by the middle of January, but the net rankings start from 0. Everybody's at 0 on November 6th or November 5th or whatever. And so they don't always make a lot of sense this early in the year. But by the end of the year, they're essentially the same as KenPom. You may think that KenPoms are more accurate. You may think that whatever you want to go with. But I looked it up yesterday for the purpose of answering a question about this. And at the end of last year, 17 of the top 20 teams in KenPom were top 20 in the net. There were only 3 teams that were different, and the order was substantially the same. The top 5 were basically the top 5. The 15 to 20 were basically 15 to 20. It's just there are some slight differences in the way they calculate. So by late January, early February, it's going to matter a lot where you're ranked in the net. It'll matter not necessarily whether you get in, but it gives you an idea of whether you'll get in or not, and it gives you the opportunity to see what you've accomplished versus the teams that are ranked ahead of you and behind you.
What I always find interesting too, and it should be this way. I'm not disputing it, but that your quad 1 wins fluctuate. Like, if that team gets to a position in the net later in the year that makes that a quad 1 victory or a quad 1 loss, it's a whole lot better. So the better the team that you played and either beat or lost does, like Memphis and Arkansas, let's just say, the better it is for you in the long run.
Yeah, that's why we talked about last week. You want Michigan to get well now. I mean, they've had a rough stretch. They've lost 4 to 5. But you want them to get well and go out and beat Indiana tonight and go finish 3rd in the Big Ten or whatever. And you want Arkansas to get themselves going again and be a factor in the SEC championship race if you're a Tigers fan, because those things help you. Mizzou, it looked for a little while like they were going to wobble. They went up to Pitt. I was actually at their game against Pitt. They had a nice night. You want those nights to be plentiful for the other Tigers, because all of that would help the Memphis Tigers in March. Those teams could become. I think Mizzou is probably going to be a quad one for the Tigers in the end, but Mizzou has to have a solid season at least for that to be true. So you want those teams that you beat, and even the teams you lost to be really successful. Villanova, Ole Miss. Villanova's been a strange team. Go down and win the battle for Atlantis. They can't win the battle on their block. They've lost to Drexel and St. Joe.
Right. I can't believe
and
it.
Penn.
I know.
It's amazing. But you want those teams to be successful if you follow the Tigers.
Memphis obviously played really bad in the first half against Villanova. They rallied a little bit, showed some moxie there, and then in the words of Penny Hardaway, they sort of gave the game away. In Oxford, I got to give a lot of credit to their point guard, Jalen Murray, the kid that played at St. Peter's. He was brilliant in that game, and he was a little like Kendrick Davis was for Memphis last year. He was unstoppable in crunch time, and Javon Quinterly was not the best point guard in that game, and not even close. But the Tigers dropped from 26 the last 2 weeks all the way to 40. Is that a legit drop?
Not really. I mean, I don't buy that. You've got 3 high major wins. I don't know that they're necessarily 40, but I think that I think you have to take lessons from the Mizzou game. Excuse me, from the Ole Miss game. You have to.
Yes.
You didn't defend well enough in the final 5 minutes, and that never got adjusted. And Javon Quinterly's played enough college basketball to know that the point guard's first job is you don't go 2 for 12. Like if you're 2 for 8, like you're like, okay, unless this is an open layup, it's not my night. I got the ball in my hands. I got to get it to somebody else. But you're 2 for 11, and you've got legit time to try to manufacture something on the final possession. I mean, the shot he ends up with, that's not good enough.
Well, and the worst part, Mike, is that was not what was called. The ball was supposed to go to Ashton Hardaway in the corner, who was wide open. So that's troubling.
Yes.
And also, the last 5 minutes and 50 seconds, the best player on this team, a guy named David Jones, didn't touch the ball. And Penny said that's on him. He addressed that as well. But that was very, very disappointing. Well, all right, one last thing, because we always are up against it with you. I love chatting with you, and that is non-conference scheduling with expansion of conferences next year. You wrote an interesting piece on the Sporting News. A lot of these, I don't think like the Battle of Atlantis and Maui are going to go away, but a lot of these challenges, because teams are going to play more conference games, are going to go away, I guess.
Well, that seems to be the direction that we're heading. There is discussion in the Big Ten about advancing to 22 conference games. I personally think that's a mistake because I think that I think the SEC can pull it off in football because they've got decades of success and they've got and you've got not that much intersection generally in college football, but in college basketball. If the Big 12's out there winning 80% of their non-conference games against a significant cohort of opponents, and then the Big 10 is winning 75 or 80%, but they're not playing as many games, and they're not playing as many elite games, who gets more seeds? Who gets more teams in the tournament? I think that's what the Big 10 risks by considering the going to 22 conference games. I understand they're going to have 18 teams. But let's be honest. The difference between playing 22 conference games with 18 teams and playing 20 conference games with 18 teams, it's really not profound. It doesn't really change the dynamic that much. But it could change significantly your perceived worth to the people who make the NCAA tournament selection.
Well, and I heard one coach, the Missouri coach, basically say expand the season, make it play 40 games, which – as a broadcaster, I'm all for that. Believe me, buddy. But
that's probably a bit much.
Yeah, that's an awful lot.
But I think there may be a case for adding more games. It's just, we're already starting the season in the first week in November. I'm not sure where you'd put the games. That's the problem. So so I think that the leagues, any league that's considering going to 22 conference games in what is fundamentally a 30 to 31 game regular season schedule,
right,
has to really think hard about that, because you want to play Maui because it gives you neutral court opportunities. You want to play some good home and homes, not a ton. Look, I've always said if I was a college coach and I was in a big time program, I'd play a minimum of one elite neutral game, one elite road game, and one elite home game, and then I would play my conference, and everything else would basically be bye games. I think you're going to probably get more than one neutral if you're in a good tournament. But I think that's a good baseline. But if you go to fewer non-conference games, it's harder and harder to get to that standard.
Yeah, no, and you're going to usually get, unless you're playing Chaminade, you got 3 really good games in Maui and Atlantis and most of those tournaments. As always, Mike, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll do this again next Tuesday.
Thanks, Dave.
That is our Hall of Famer. That is Mike DeCourcy. He's brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. That's Matt Eflin and his guys, Grant, Andrew, and Heath. And the way they do insurance is unique. It's collaborative. They get to know you. They'll talk to you and your family. They'll get to know what's important to you, what your budget is, and then they'll protect you, your car, your house, life insurance. They take care of you. Same thing if you got a small to mid-sized business. That's their specialty. They'll get to know you and your employees, your product, what your budget is, and find the perfect commercial insurance for you. All you got to do is call 901-386-4777. That spells out GER. 901-386-GER, because they're big Tiger fans. Get protected the right way. Let them get to know you and take care of you at the Eflin Insurance Team. Our NFL team guy, that's Jeff Moore. He puts to bed Week 13 right around the corner.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
It's a Big Green Egg early Christmas at Cordova Ace Hardware, Friday, December 8th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. We'll cook tenderloin, wings, pizza, and dessert all on the Big Green Egg. Try our new sauces and seasonings and check out the platinum selection of Big Green Egg equipment and accessories. Get $100 off the large egg, $150 off the extra large egg, $50 off the Egg Genius, and up to $70 off the Egg Expander kits. The Big Green Egg early Christmas party, Friday, December 8th, 11 to 6 at Cordova Ace Hardware, 1740 North Germantown.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
What happens to former real estate agents when they want to sell their homes? This is Sheldon Rosengarten, actually Shell Dunn, with Mark Spensdorf Realtors. I am so proud and feel so honored when former real estate agents contact me when they want to sell their homes. They know that I've been in the business for quite a while, have a great deal of experience, and know that I am good at marketing, not merely putting a sign in the yard and hoping it sells. Over the years, I have developed a highly successful strategic marketing program that can mean the difference in what you make and when. Talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure that I am one of them. So if you or someone you know is thinking about selling a home, remember what other real estate agents who have been in the business do. They call me, Sheldon Rosengarten, at 483-0546, or email me at memphisrelocate.com. I will wait to hear from you to take advantage of this good market. That's 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. Thank you.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Week 13 in the books in the National Football League, and as always, we bring in our former NFLer and Tennessee Volunteer, Jeff Moore, to hash things out. Monday night was a great game last night. Who would have thought this thing would turn out to be, when they were scheduling this earlier in the year, Jake Browning against C.J. Beathard? No one would have seen that coming. This is the year of craziness. Trevor Lawrence, I don't know what his status is at this moment. That looked nasty. That looked like he's out for a few weeks. And that's going to hurt Jacksonville a whole lot. And Cincinnati now stays in a playoff hopeful position, even with Jake Browning, who gets his very first NFL starting quarterback win.
He does. And ironically, the Bengals have their largest offensive output in that game, even without Joe Burrow. So, I mean, you just never know what's going to happen in this season. We know Cleveland has a very respectable defense, and they're going to be good defensively. But if they can muster, 3 touchdowns a game going forward with their quarterback, they got a chance to be in just about every game with that defense.
I'm really amazed, and I asked Zach Boyd this a little earlier. I really don't know the answer. Are there more quarterback injuries this year than usual, or is this sort of status quo? Because just off the top of my head, I was thinking about it, honestly. So right off the bat, Jets lost Aaron Rodgers, right? Then I know the Bears lost Justin Fields for 3 or 4 games. Cincinnati's lost Burrow for the season. Jacksonville's going to be without Trevor Lawrence for a while. Pittsburgh just lost Kenny Pickett for the year with surgery. The New York Giants lost their starting quarterback. So the whole city of New York's lost their starting quarterback, basically. Is there more this year, or am I making that up?
I don't know that it's necessarily more this year. If it is, it's only by 1 or 2 players. I mean, we typically see, because that's such a vulnerable position, that we typically get quarterbacks that go out. And a lot of times they go out because of injuries with players, them not seeing the hit coming and them getting injured the way Trevor Lawrence was injured. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens in that position. That's why that position is so critical.
You were talking to me a little earlier about the AFC South and how with the Jacksonville loss, everybody's in it, but the Titans. And the Titans were so bad, they've done a new thing. Here's a new trend this year, and that is in-season firing of coordinators. This time, I'm not sure I've ever seen a special teams coordinator get fired in the middle of the season, but Craig Aukerman did it after his punter got hurt and 2 punts were blocked, and apparently Mike Vrabel said, I don't know what your schemes are. They're not very good.
Yeah, it is unusual to see a coach get let go this late in the season. But, teams are just trying to figure out how to get better. We saw Pittsburgh have a huge output offensively last week. And then this week, they couldn't do anything offensively against the Cardinals and end up losing the game 24-10, which is another team that was upset this week. So, we're seeing just incredible parity. I didn't see the 49ers really dominating the Eagles the way they did when they went into Philadelphia. That was a huge statement as well. So, I mean, it's the ultimate in parity this year.
It's no question about it. So part of that was what we saw last night, okay? Then earlier, how about the Green Bay upset of Kansas City? It's the first time the Chiefs playing in front of Taylor Swift lost a game. Come on. This Jordan Love, who's a cocky kind of a guy, I guess that's what you want if that's your quarterback, right? But I mean, he's filling the shoes. He brought this up a few weeks ago, and I saw the graphic on TV when I was watching the game. His numbers compared to Aaron Rodgers' numbers his first year are unbelievably the same.
Yeah, that's ironic. But, he's playing well. He's playing with a lot of confidence. He's well coached, and he's got some good weapons out wide, and they run the football fairly respectably. And so that's going to put them in a lot of games. But I think the key in that game against the Chiefs is that the Chiefs are seeing their defense really not perform well.
Rocked.
They've gone in consecutive games where the team that they're playing against have scored the first 2 possessions, scored touchdowns that have kind of put them in the hole. They've had to play from behind. And they just weren't able to get it done against the Packers, who were really playing well offensively. They've got to fix things on defense if they expect to repeat as champions.
The San Francisco 49ers, in a rematch with the Eagles of the NFC title game, totally dominated in Philly. Now, look, I told y'all these things go in cycles that Philly couldn't keep this thing up, where they keep getting behind and making comebacks, and they couldn't this time. San Francisco, they had their little bump in the road that I think Philly has coming now, but they had their bump in the road. They look pretty awesome.
They do, and you know, the big thing for them has just been staying healthy on the field. But when you look at the weapons they got with McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and Kitchens at tight end, and then Brock Purdy has just been consistent all year long. He's leading the league in NFL quarterback rating. This defense is unbelievable. They added Chase Young to this defense. They're putting a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. They just have put together a formula to be successful. We just have to see if they can get it done in the playoffs.
Since you brought it up, we've talked Travis Kelce, or I did, because of Swift. Greg Kittles, the San Francisco 49ers tight end. If you had a choice between the two tight ends, which one would you take?
I'm going to take Travis Kelce because I think he's just been the most consistent and the most, available. Kittle's had some injuries, but both of them you can't lose. They know how to get open. They catch the ball well. Kelce's probably had more drops than we've seen him have in a long time this year, but he's solid. And he's a guy that's proven himself in the playoffs, and that what gets critical as we get into December is how well teams are playing this time of year.
Right, momentum. It's a real thing in the National Football League. San Francisco's got it now. Philly had it the week before, I think. Maybe it's Green Bay that's starting to put things together. Like as you look at this right now, who are the hottest teams? Who are the teams if you were an opposing team, would not want to play at this point?
Well, certainly Green Bay is a team that's trending well. The Texans, I was impressed with them putting Denver's 5-game winning streak to rest. They're really playing. They're a young team. They've got guys that are contributing that are in their first and second year on both sides of the ball. So both of them are absolutely teams that you want to be careful about. And then, of course, you look in the AFC North. You've got 3 teams right now. Actually, all 4 of their teams are at least on the bubble in terms of having a chance to get into
right there.
Yeah, getting into the playoffs. So, and we don't know what you're going to get with Pittsburgh week in and week out. They have a very good defense, and they're offensively they're up and down. They run the ball extremely well. But losing Pickens is going to be huge for them. We're going to have to see how they respond.
They're now down to shudder to think Mitch Trubisky. Ooh, I'm writing them off right now. It is. They're 7-5. So you look at the AFC wildcard, and you were talking about parity before. All right, the Ravens, the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Jaguars, they're leading their divisions, and they're leading by at least a game. And I think those are the best 4 teams. It's unlike the NFC South, where you're going to have maybe a team under 500 in here. But then it's the Steelers, and I'm putting them out because I think that injury really hurts them. I don't trust Mitch Trubisky. You got the Browns in the race, the Colts in the race. They're doing it with a backup quarterback and Gardner Minshew. I like him, but a lot of people have no faith in him. Houston Texans, a team, as you just said, on the rise. I like them in. At the moment, they'd be out. The Broncos, the Bengals, the Buffalo Bills. Which one of those teams? There's only 3 spots. I just mentioned 7. Which of those teams make it?
I think the Buffalo Bills have a good chance. They played their best game, even though they lost this past week, offensively, defensively, and not the week before last, before the break. So I think they're a team that you just got to be concerned about because they could offensively be explosive. And, of course, their defense is respectable, too. So I would think that they're a team that you got to be concerned about going into the December schedule.
So they're a game back, and the Texans. I like them. I think the Texans have a chance to really make it. They're C.J. Stroud's the rookie of the year, right?
Absolutely,
no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Do the Colts with Minshew stay in? Do the Browns stay in? Which teams are out?
I think the Colts are playing the best out of those teams. Browns certainly respectable, and you got to be ready to play when you play against them. But you when you get that kind of production out of a backup quarterback, it's a challenge to get that consistently.
There's our seventh guy. I forgot about him. Minshew coming in for Richardson. Who was the starter? Yeah. In the NFC, you kind of mentioned. The strength of the North in the AFC. The NFC South is Atlanta at 500, Bucks at 5-7, Saints at 5-7. Forget the Panthers at 1-11. Do the Bucks or the Saints, who were the preseason favorite to win that division, do they catch Atlanta, or does Coach Smith's team make it in as a wild card?
I think they're a long shot.
Or as a division winner, excuse me.
I think they're a long shot. I mean, it's going to be a dogfight going forward, but I think Atlanta could, if they could stay consistent, they got a chance to take that division. And I just see one team coming out of that division.
Sure. I'm just saying, do you think it'll be which one, Atlanta, Tampa, or New Orleans?
I think Atlanta. I think Atlanta right now has been the most consistent. We'll have to see, but I think Atlanta, so far, looks like they may be the team to emerge from there.
All right, two really good games this week. Bills at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites. The Chiefs are going to be really mad, but Buffalo's got to win if they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and Chiefs have an incredible record coming off of a loss, so they're really hard to beat when they didn't play well the week before. But it is, as you've said, it's a must-win for the Bills. That's a huge game. I like the Chiefs in that game, but you never know. The Bills could show up and play well as well. I like the Chiefs, though.
And then the Eagles and the Cowboys. So the Eagles finally lose the game. Cowboys are looking better than they ever have. People are going, Dak Prescott may be the MVP of this league. They got a defensive back who may be the defensive player of the year. They're starting to put it together, and if they win, it's in Dallas, and they're 3.5-point favorites. Now they are sitting tied atop the NFC East division.
I like the Cowboys in that game because I thought they played well in Philadelphia, and that really was the beginning of their winning streak where they really started to put up a lot of points every week. Their defense is playing with a lot of confidence. I like them at home. They're hard to beat at home anyway, but I like them really with the momentum that they have and the way that they play Philadelphia in the past. I think that's a W for them, and that ties them for the division and really makes it look good for them going down the stretch.
Can't disagree. Jeff Moore, thank you much. We appreciate it.
Look forward to it.
See you next Tuesday. That is for sure. That's our man, Jeff Moore. He's brought to you by Ken Garland. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. We're talking 70 years, 2 generations of making the finest new homes or renovations throughout our Memphis area. That's fact. Go see what I'm talking about. Go to kengarland.com. So if you'd like a renovation because you love your house, you don't want to leave your location, the lot's gorgeous, but you want modern amenities. Your house is a little older. You want to update it. You want the California closets. You want the island in the kitchens. You want the media room with all the new technology. Ken knows exactly how to do that. Give him a call. It's simple. 901-751-1632. 901-751-1632. Maybe you're ready for the dream home. You're looking for land. Or maybe you got land you're not sure how to utilize. He's got both answers for you. He's got land, or he knows exactly how to utilize the land that maybe has been in your family for a long, long time. Just call. He sees little details and big picture all at once. That's Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. We take our final time out. When we come back, I've written down bowls that are interesting to me. That's not all the bowls. I want to know if Zach Boyd finds them interesting and what we think will happen. That comes your way right after this.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hey friends, Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, and it's now time to get serious about Christmas shopping for your special lady. As we celebrate our 38th Christmas at Russell Brothers this year, we've gathered the most stunning collection of beautiful diamonds and gemstones that you can possibly imagine. Exquisitely designed and crafted with the finest workmanship, our array of rings and bracelets, pendants and earrings will dazzle your lady and will give her the message very clearly how much you care about her. You care enough to give her the best. If you've never been to Russell Brothers, we invite you to join our many customers and see what a difference personal attention can make. Drive right to our front door. Come on in and be a part of our 38th Christmas, and let us show you what value, quality, service, and selection can look like as you choose a piece for her that will make you the very best Santa Claus ever. Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins.
My Westie.
WestiesMemphis.com.
Westie's Hot Fudge Pie. By now, you know we're famous for a hot fudge pie. But have you tried the new Cajun Alfredo?
The new spicy on our menu.
Fettuccine noodles, homemade Alfredo, sliced bell peppers, diced green onions, smoked sausage, and Cajun sauteed shrimp? Are you kidding me?
Wow. What you said?
Often imitated?
Never duplicated.
The new Cajun Alfredo.
Only at the North End's Westies.
Oh my, so good.
We deliver 7 nights a week.
Downtown Memphis. Oh my.
Open late till 2 a.m.
So good.
Join us December 7, 8, and 9 for our 40th anniversary celebration. Festivities kick off at 6 p.m. nightly. Old friends, new friends, and hot fudge pie.
The Crazy Coop, America's premier wing destination, has 27 delicious flavors to choose from and counting. Like the Buffalo Ranch, a perfect combo of ranch seasoning with a little kick. Mango Habanero, sweet taste of mango followed by the heat. Or sweet maple bourbon. The taste will remind you of chicken and waffles. And that's just 3 of the amazing 27 chicken wing seasonings that you can get at the Crazy Coop in Bartlett at 7199 Stage Road. And now open the Crazy Coop Express at 1315 Ridgeway off Poplar. Some like it hot. How about the Crazy Sweet Lemon Pepper Hot or Crazy Suicide? Can't take the heat? Get the 4-cheese roasted garlic or barbecue bacon bourbon. Ask about the $9.99 lunch special. Now those are some crazy good prices. The Crazy Coop, 2 locations, 7199 Highway 64 between Aplin and Kirby Whitten and 1315 Ridgeway off Poplar. Family owned and operated, The Crazy Coop, America's premier wing destination.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswingerglass.com. Binswanger Glass.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
I wrote down a list of bowls that I'm interested in. I'll try to make a point of watching at least part of those games for various reasons. So I'll play this game. Zach Boyd, are you interested in, because I am, in the L.A. Bowl? That's UCLA against Boise.
Not really.
I'm interested in that game because Boise was a team Memphis beat. And by the way, we're just talking about net rankings. So everybody complained about how Memphis didn't beat teams that were over 500 or what.
Yeah.
USF, Boise, Arkansas State even made a bowl. So as it turned out, the Tigers did beat a bunch of teams that were 500 a little bit better, more than people would have anticipated, particularly at the time that they played them. But I'm interested in that game. UCLA is a 3-point favorite. Boise fired their coach and got better. That was really weird because he was, had really a bunch of success there, was a former player. That was wild. Are you interested in the Frisco Bowl? That is Texas San Antonio, big favorite over Marshall.
That's Conference USA versus American, am I right?
Correct. That's why I'm interested.
Yeah, why not?
Tex-
Mid-major. Well, I don't want to say mid-major, but 2 Group of 5 conferences.
Yeah.
Their best teams going at it.
Well, Frank Harris is worth the price of admission, the quarterback for Texas San Antonio. That's why they're 9-point favorites. The Boca Bowl. Memphis has played in the Boca Bowl. This is USF against Syracuse. Syracuse only a 3.5-point favorite. South Florida got better as the year went on.
No, thank you.
Not interested.
Not interested.
No, I'm interested in that one. Yeah, and you can see the sights and sounds of Boca, and that's not a bad.
I mean, Boca by itself is great. The bowl game, not so much.
The Camellia Bowl. Arkansas State is actually a favorite over NIU. That's Sunbelt versus, I guess NIU's in the MAC. Arkansas State is a 1 point. No, Northern Illinois, right. The Huskies.
No, thank you.
Come on. This is the Red Wolves against the Huskies.
No.
We got the dog family in this.
Mm-mm.
Well, I'm pulling for Butch Jones's team.
For me, around bowl season, it has to get my attention. So initially, I'm saying no, but once the games get going and I see okay, this game looks kind of competitive, let me just tune in. I think that's where it gets me the most.
There's the other element, like the guy that follows us in this seat. There's the gambling aspect.
Of course there is. Yeah. Of course there is.
Birmingham Bowl. Troy, a touchdown favorite over Duke. Hard to believe, but that's what happens when you have no coach and your quarterback is in the portal, because I got a feeling, what's his name, Leonard is the quarterback? I think he's following his coach to A&M.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I might watch it to see if Duke can if Duke end up losing to Troy.
I'm all for Troy.
I'm just curious.
Go for the underdogs. The Armed Forces game, James Madison, because they weren't supposed to be able to play in a game. Fortunately, there weren't enough, and the NCAA came to their senses. They'll take on Air Force, James Madison.
High scoring game.
Okay. Vegas Bowl. That is Utah against Northwestern. Northwestern, with all the stuff that happened preseason and how bad they were in the beginning of the year, for them to make a bowl, that is incredible. And Utah's only a touchdown favorite in that game, and it's Vegas.
Isn't that Cam Risner's team, am I right? The Utah Utes? Utah?
Yeah, from the Pac-12.
Yeah. And Cam, that's the thing, too. And that's something I probably put it in the back of my mind. Like, Cam hasn't played the entire season. Has he?
I'm really not sure.
I'm
interested because of the Northwestern side of the story. And, Vegas got themselves a good bowl. Military Bowl that Memphis was talked about a lot. That is Virginia Tech against Tulane. And Virginia Tech is an 8-point favorite in that game because you know what? Willie Fritz is no longer the coach at Tulane. He went to Houston, of all places, so he gets his shot at some big stuff, and I think Tulane is finished.
I think it's like the Memphis situation where they lose their coach, the players are kind of dejected, but they're still trying to go out there and give it a good fight. And I'll be interested in that.
The Fenway Bowl has SMU, the last game play from the against Boston College. They'll be in that conference with BC. And SMU's an 11-point favorite, even without their starting quarterback. Rhett Lashley, by the way, their coach, just got extended, rightfully so.
And this is SMU and who again?
Boston College.
Boston College. Okay. Yeah, I'll be interested.
Okay. The AutoZone Liberty Bowl, I know you're interested in that. Memphis against Iowa State. Memphis is a 7-point underdog in that game. Iowa State doesn't score a lot of points. If Henning can go crazy, I think it'd be a terrific game. It was 6 years ago, and I still contend if Anthony Miller hadn't gotten hurt in the fourth quarter, Memphis would have won that game. It ended up 21-20.
Wasn't there like that little penalty in the fourth quarter as well? Or somebody got called for like some penalty in the fourth quarter that didn't make any sense as well.
I just remember that Memphis was going to drive and score the way they were going, and unfortunately,
just make sure we don't have like sub 40-degree weather next time, like with this rematch?
I hope not. Yeah. Well,
please.
It's literally, what is it, today the 5th? 24 days away. Cotton Bowl, Missouri and Ohio State, and the Buckeyes 2-point favorites despite no quarterback. I'm going with Missouri in that one.
Points.
Yeah.
Love it.
Peach, and congratulations to Ole Miss. You realize that if Ole Miss wins that game, it would be the first time in history they've won 11 games?
Really?
That's just hard to fathom. And Penn State is a 3.5-point favorite in that game. I think Ole Miss is going to score.
We'll see.
Then there's the Orange Bowl. I know you're interested in that. Georgia and Florida State. And now Georgia, because the Florida State quarterback's coming back, and the quarterback and the defense is the same one that played unless people opt out. I think Georgia 14 points, not a playoff game. Disappointment there. Disappointment on both sides.
Yeah.
But I think Florida State's got something more to prove. That's too many points. I like Florida State in that game.
Personally, I hope Florida State hangs 70 on Georgia. Not because Georgia's a bad team. I just think that it'll be funny just to throw it in the face of the committee and saying that, you guys don't have a quarterback, you can't be in the top 4.
Justice.
So I hope they hang 7.
Got to mention the Citrus because Tennessee's in there against Iowa, -7.5. I can understand that. All you got to do to cover 7.5 is score 17 points, and
literally,
because Iowa's not going to be able to score. The Fiesta Liberty. Can you believe Liberty is in the Fiesta Bowl? And they're 16-point favorites against Oregon, and I got a feeling Oregon's going to spank them as long as Bo Nix plays in that game.
Yeah.
Bo Nix doesn't play in that game, forget it.
Yeah, that's the downside to this, because Oregon has been very good with Bo Nix all year. So.
Yeah, and then obviously, but we'll talk more about it, the playoffs with Alabama and Michigan and Texas and Washington. I got a feeling about Washington in this one. This whole thing, there's something about Michael Penix and the Washington Huskies. This portion of our show brought to you by Southern Security. That's your home team credit union, and they've been around 70 years. They keep getting bigger and better. They just broke ground on a brand new place in Collierville. Dawn Grader's done an amazing job. She always keeps up with the latest. That's why they keep building new buildings. 70 years they've been around, and they will provide you with the best rates, the lowest fees, unreal service, and then always the newest technology. So if you're a business owner, Southern Security is something you need to think about. If you're in need of an auto loan, go to your home team credit union. If you want the lowest competitive rates on any kind of loan and better credit card deals, please check out Southern Security. You can even call. Most places you can just go to a website. You can here too, southernsecurity.org. But you can call and talk to one of their team members. In fact, they encourage it. 452-7900. Big sponsors of the U of M. Go check it out. You'll love Southern Security, your home team credit union. Johnny Radio is right around the corner. We'll be back again tomorrow morning. I'll be coming to you live from Richmond, Virginia. Have a great day, everybody.